Is there a case? Is there any sort of way you reckon we could try and fit Son and Richie up front together? Is there a way you reckon Ange could do that?
No.
4-4-2.
3-5-2 maybe. Go 3 at the back. Is there something you can do there?
3-5-2 is the only way.
Yeah, and it's like,
is that too radical?
Changes too much, doesn't it?
Go on, Dave. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say with the Richie and Son army, I think comes back to what Ben is saying. You know, against the bigger teams where they have no respect for you, he's got all the space in the world. He become really effective. But the majority of teams we're going to face, especially going into next season, with the more possession we keep, are going to play a low block, are going to play a low line. And that's not where you get the best out of Sonny. So, you know, ideally next season you bring in a couple of world-class wingers and you use Son and Richarlison to compete going down the middle and use them for whatever different games come about. But, you know, for everyone just to say put Sonny straight down the middle, regardless whether it's lone block or not, I think is madness. I think to counter that, Dave, I think out of the 25 games Spurs have played this season, we've taken the lead in 18 of those games. And now the best position I want Son is when, if you are winning, the best someone you want. Because the problem is when we're winning games, obviously the opposition then want to try and get something, right? And they start to play a bit higher, commit a bit more risk. That's when you want Sonny centrally. And so that is the best position to have Sonny when you're in that game state, when you're winning. And the fact that we've taken the lead in 18 of the 25 games, like, suggests to me that even if they are playing low block, if we can get the lead, right, then you still do want Sonny up front, even in those games, because then the opposition will still have to, at some point, commit a bit of risk, and then you would want Sonny up front. Because I feel like when we're winning and then we have Richarlison up front, it's a lot easier for the opposition to push a bit high, knowing that Richarlison isn't that much of a threat in behind compared to someone like Son. And then all of a sudden it's a lot more difficult for us to sustain that kind of pressure. But if we have Son, then they always know that threat in behind is lethal, basically.
Yeah, you say that, but that didn't happen in the particular games where we lost and we were ahead and Sonny was playing in the number 9. It didn't work out that way.
Which games?
The Wolves game, the West Ham game, the Aston Villa game. Sonny played number 9 in all those games. We took the lead in all those games.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
And we just couldn't seem to create.
Yeah, but in my opinion, that wasn't down to Son. But yeah, but I just think that's the game I want Son in.
The problem with Son is on the number 9. If you do come up against them low block teams, you have to almost create the perfect goal. With Richarlison, you don't. You can put balls in the box and let him go and attack it. It gives you that different option. The biggest problem we've got is creativity. We're not creating an awful lot. I'd make an argument we've been clinical with what we have created, but I don't think we create real sort of clear-cut chances the way we have been in previous years.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it breaks down too much when it gets to Richie in possession, though. So it's like, yeah, you get that option in the box. He'd definitely be my choice every time if we know that Wolves are gonna, you know how they started just basically camping in their box. Like if I know a game's gonna start like that, fair enough. I agree with David there. You start Richie, but like when there's gonna be some intricate parts of the game, like there was in that first half, Wolves did come out and press us in midfield and stuff like that. Son's just gonna hang on to the ball better and do quick, clever passes and progress it. It kept breaking down when it came to Richie.
But why can't we play Son like we did when we had Harry Kane? Just get him to sort of go in behind all the time.
Because that's not how he plays his wingers. That's not how Ange plays the winger. He likes his wingers to hug the touchline to create the width and to create that space for those central players to pick it up in the centre. So he's always going to have his wingers very wide, which is also part of the reason that I don't like Son on the left, because he doesn't get into enough goal-scoring positions when he's on that left-hand side, I feel. And I just like Son near the goal. That's why I want him as much as possible, because any chance to shoot, he's clinical, and we know that. And I feel like when he's on the left, he can I don't think he's terrible on the left. I don't think he's as good as he used to be, but he can still do a job on the left. But I just feel like I want Son. I feel like he's at his best when he's nearer the goal as much as possible. Yeah. That's why I want him centrally. But it just it is a problem. But what I'm gathering from this is we all agree that Kulusevski's still the best option on the right then, are we?
Well, this is what I was just about to jump in and say, yeah. This whole conversation, doesn't it show you that none of our front three are nailed on or anything like that? Like, as in even Son, who we would all want to start, we don't know where to put him or anything. and there needs major surgery, I've got to be honest, I'm not sold on Kulu long term on that right as an Ange winger. I don't think he is, and I'm not sold with any of our other wingers as long term. I'm not. Basically, Son's the only one that I'm like, yeah, 100%, because I don't think Richie's
as a striker.
He just said he's not a winger. He just said he's not a winger, Josh. What is it? He is or he isn't?
Son's the only winger I want as a striker, yeah.
No, Son is the only one that I know I want to start. Do you know what I mean? Wherever that is or whatever. But the rest of them, I don't think that they can do what Ange wants. And I want two attackers, two starting attackers. And I think we got to start shipping them as well.
I actually think Richie's pretty good for what Ange wants as a striker, though, to be fair to him. Like, I think he's very good at pressing. Like, he's very relentless at that. And that's a big element to how Ange wants his strikers to play. And he is very good at, like, picking up those, loose balls in the box and just being right place, right time kind of thing. So I do think Richie is a good Ange striker, as much as I also think Son is a good Ange striker as well. I think they're both good at that role. Obviously, Richie has a bit more physical presence. But I agree. I think the whole problem here is just we have a problem on our wings. Werner, Johnson, and Kulu to a certain extent aren't completely cutting it. That is the problem at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why we desperately need these one-on-one demons to come in the summer. We need to have a big budget allocated to bring in these kind of players. Like, can you imagine if we had like a Pedro Neto or someone of that caliber on the wing? Then it probably wouldn't even be a conversation about Sonny.
What I would say to defend Kulu, though, is as much as he's not, I don't think he's a perfect Ange winger, but at least when he does play on the wing, he still does fairly consistently create chances, in my opinion. And compared to Johnson and Werner, at least Kulu finds a way to do something, whereas I feel like Werner and Johnson, when they're not beating their man, they're just a bit completely pointless. Whereas at least Kulu, even if he's not beating his man, he still can create chances.
Has Johnson ever beaten his man in the Spurs shirt?
He runs into space, but only when there's no man there, yeah.
It's the problem with Brennan Johnson, man. We spent 50 million on him in the summer. I know he's young and he's got time on his hands, but I'm failing to see anything at the moment of him in a Spurs shirt, especially the last couple of games. Like, what does he bring to us? What does he offer?
He's struggling to adapt, though, isn't he? At Nottingham Forest, he had all that space, to go into against high lines. That he had a lot more time to pick his finish and stuff like that. Now, when he's playing against teams where they sit nearly every man in their own half, he struggles. He can't be his player. He doesn't have a good cross. He's not good enough to be able to do 1-2s and link up with people. He is purely a player that will do well against high-line teams. In the big games, you want to bring him off the bench, put him in there. If you want to hit them in the high line from the start, put him in there. But asking this guy to unlock a door or thread a needle, it's absolutely pointless.
Yeah, I mean, the only value I see on him at the moment is him delivering, arriving late at the back post and getting on the end of those crosses. That's the only thing he does do.
Which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if everything else in the squad is sorted, he's definitely not a bad bench player to have.
Yeah.
But 50 million's a lot for a club like ours. Do you know?